Okay, my friends, welcome aboard. I've decided that each evening I should answer a few questions, I suppose, because you guys are usually just beginning and you're wondering about things, or somebody's told you something, or you've gone on some site and the guy is preaching this or that. Anyhow, great. That's not what I'm doing. So anyhow, Norwood Craft and Forge asked me a question. He says, do you ever settle into your hips or your feet? And I'd have to say, no, Norwood, I never think about my hips. I think about the target. It's all done with the upper body. That's what directs the arrow, not the hips or the feet. You can move your feet around and still hit the target, or miss the target, or bend your knee, or all these things. There's a million things, And anyhow, what I don't want you to do is to be a regular shooter that gets taught to shoot at a line. It's very unnatural to stand, you don't aim with your feet. So you put your feet 90 degrees to the target. Now you've got to twist and turn, that line doesn't exist. The way that I really think is best for lining up is to look at the target, and if you take an arrow, you get your bow or your arrow, right? But I have to get back a bit. If you put up the arrow and you take a little step forward and pick up your back foot and put a little step back, you can put down that arrow and you'll find that each time you put it up, it's in the same spot. That's much better than doing this sideways thing and then starting to go, and then when you start getting the guy saying, oh, bend your elbow, lower your shoulder, raise your elbow. They're goofy. Get away from them. There's only one thing that really works, and that's your upper body. If you pull back and get it all stretched out and relax and close your eyes, that arrow will shoot right where the bow wants it to go. It's got nothing to do with your eyes. It's where that pressure is pointing. That's where the arrow is going to go. Okay? So if you can learn to get it back and all relaxed, and then look and see where the arrow is pointing, you can adjust it at your waist, not with twisting your wrist and raising and lowering all this part of your body. Don't touch this part of the body. It's like the big barrel on a cannon. It doesn't bend, but you can swivel the cannon on its base. Quick, 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 right? Quick, 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 quick. Okay, that's how you adjust. But that's what I would suggest, Norwood, is just be as relaxed and natural as possible. Get it all stretched out and let it point where it wants to point, and then make sure that it's pointing at the target. It might sound simple, but it's not. And most people outthink themselves. They screw up. Really raise your elbow, cock your wrist. Anyhow, I'll be back in a minute and we'll do some shooting and talking. Okay, back in a minute, boys. Okay, my friends, so this evening, all we're doing is stretching it out, hanging from our elbow so that the pressure is all straight, and then looking along the arrow. We do the press, the stretch, and all the relaxing before we look along the arrow. And also, we are not going to anchor on the face whatsoever. Moving sideways always twists your power line. So all we're going to do is get back and let the upper body do all the shooting, and we're just going to hang the eye over the target. So we're going to draw real high without touching anything. Okay? No anchor. Perhaps this is becoming the arrow. But it's the same kind of a draw, like it's put some tension on it, put it on the center line, okay? That kind of thing. And then just draw really high and let it all hang, and that's how it goes. So that's what I want you to see, okay? So we're going to do a fair bit of it tonight. We'll even do some shooting from down here. As long as we can get over that arrow, it's going to hit just fine. But that was the first shot of the night, and just for a laugh. See, this is what we're talking about. Right, that's close enough to the center for the first shot of the night. Okay, anyhow, let's do some shooting. We're just eyeballing it. No anchor whatsoever. Anchors make you miss. Back in a minute. Okay, guys, so let's take a couple of shots here. Yasser was asking some questions about canting, you know. There's different ways of canting, or finding your cant. Notice how I just lifted up my hand? No anchor, I just raised it up and bang. But different ways of canting. For instance, you can point the arrow or the bow and arrow right at the target and take a little step forward and back, and that will line up perfect. So that's one way of finding your cant. You know, sometimes people will just say, well, I want a 45-degree cant. That's 45 degrees, so you just do it that way. But that's the same as doing it at 90 or everything. It's a set thing, and it's not as accurate as feeling each shot. So what I really find is the best way of doing it is to look at the target with my weak eye and take my little steps. Now, when I put the bow up, my wrist is not twisted. You see, to do this, I have to twist my wrist. That's torquing. We're always trying to avoid it. So what I find a slightly better way of doing it is to take your steps, your eyes on, take your steps and put your bow up, and that will be a natural angle. That's the natural cant for me, right there, just like that. And of course, then what we always want to do is put some tension on the bow and then put the point on. That way we can line up straight. You see how that worked? You see how that worked? That's a natural cant, okay? So left eye on, front step, back step, put the bow up, the arrow will be pointing off to the side, put pressure on the bow, put the center on, and now, bang, you see how it goes straight? Those are the proper steps. Those are the proper steps, okay? You know, eye on, take the little steps, put it up, put some pressure on, put the point on, now bring it right back, and just look long, and bang, right in there. Oh. Ah. Anyhow, that's how it's done, guys. Whether I'm fooling around or not, that's how it's done. Okay, so it would be eye on, step, step, tension on the bow, put the point on, now just make it go straight. And now I'm just going to bang, right in the center. So you notice how I'm floating my anchor? It's just going, I'm just moving it up or down, so I'm looking along that arrow. That's all I'm doing. No anchor, no permanent anchor. I'm just raising it up so I can look along that arrow, become the arrow. Step, step, put it up, tension on the bow, put the tip on, now just draw it back, and now I've really got it up high. Bang, right there. Beauty. It's beauty, you know? When you put it up, first, put tension on the bow. We do not put it up and cant the bow. No. Put it up, tension on the bow, put the point on, and it will go straight. Isn't that amazing? You know, lovely. That's why my Lord Guthrum has sent you to me, boys. Anyhow, hope you got a sense of humor. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. A 100 ways to hit and 1,000 ways to miss. Wilhelm's shot could shoot from down here. Okay, so Ken Wilhelm had a bad shoulder and he could not shoot from a regular anchor, so he would just hold the bow down and fire from down here. And what we're doing in a case like that is we're getting arrow alignment so that we're getting right over the arrow, you know, right over it so that we can see it straight, basically. And we're just pulling back and eyeballing it. And it can work very good, you know. But that's one of the things that you can do. And that's why you do not really have to have a face anchor, because even if you're firing from your waist, you know, you can get your hits, no problem. And if you practice a little bit, I'll tell you, Ken Wilhelm could, you know, knock a cigarette out of your mouth or light a match. He was that good. Anyhow, back in a minute. Okay, guys, I think we've gone over a few things, so let's just have a bit of fun now. You know, it's like guys like Carl Gunther, you know, they write and say thank you for the lessons. That's kind of nice, you know. Lovely. First the draw and the relax, then the aim. The aim is nothing. It's just a matter of seeing it look straight. It's all in the feel of the pressure in the two hands. The two little boys, they have to work together. And you see that wiggle? Deadly Fredly. This is working very good, guys. You're just going to have to practice it, you know. Some guys like Mike was writing there last week. He says, you know, like everybody has a different body, and not everything works that I teach works for him. And that's very true, you know. But you got to practice it too. You know, you got to practice it. Yeah, so, you know, it's not a nice, beautiful little anchor or, you know, release where it just touches, because I don't have an anchor, so it doesn't go to one special spot because it's just floating. It's floating just fine. Up high and just making sure it's straight. Bang, you know. Yeah, I think that anchors make you miss. I know it's unorthodox. I know I tell you a lot of unorthodox things, but that's because I'm an original thinker. I can think outside the box. I may not be that smart, but I'm a genius. I get original thoughts. You know? So that's what I'm teaching you now. Is just to eyeball it, get it up there, look along that arrow. First, push it out, draw it back, and relax. You even see my arm wiggle. That's when it's relaxing. Then I aim. First, draw it out, relax, let your body point where it wants to point, and then aim. It's got nothing to do with settling into your hips and putting your knee a certain way and raising your elbow and lowering your elbow and doing the Swahili. Ah! No, it's not. It's just as simple as the stuff I'm telling you. And, you know, by doing that, again, without aiming or anchoring at all, it's just wacko, 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 wacko. Back in a minute. Okay, my friends, so we'll take a couple of shots here and talk a little bit. You know, I've watched many archers shoot at the Olympics or in these big games, and so often they all do the same thing, especially the ones with the balance bars and the sights and stuff. You know, the little kisser and the arrow. There's nothing original about them. They only learn because they've been taught. So sometimes it's better, if you want to be an original thinker and think outside the box, is not to be educated like all the others. Does that make any sense? You know, it's just like this idea, bang, right in the center, of not anchoring. It's working very, very good for me this evening. So there's many ways of thinking outside the box. Yep, right in there. Anyhow, this is working great, so I want you guys to be able to learn this. As I draw, I'm just bringing it up to my eye and around so that it looks like it's straight towards the target. Something. But that's all that I'm doing, you know. Again, I put a little pressure on it, put it in the center, and now just draw it around up to my eye, like that. This is a big step. Just put the pressure on it, and then put the tip on. It's a big deal. If you don't do that, it'll wiggle all the way back. But if you do that, it'll come back straight. It's a big deal. You know, that's how it goes. But I think that's enough for this evening. I've told you enough stuff. So anyhow, what we're doing is we're just standing natural. We're putting some tension on the bow until that arrow comes over, or putting tension on the bow and then putting the arrow on. Otherwise it will wiggle all the way back. But if you put tension on and put it on, as you start to draw, you'll see it comes back straight. And all I'm doing is raising it up so I can see along that arrow. Anyhow, I'll show you one last little group. But that's the simple stuff that I'm doing. Okay. It's completely original. And it's working just fine. But I can just, you know, just shoot like that all night. It just goes bang, 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 bang. Why? Because it works. Hey, Mike, practice. Okay, boys, have a good night. Take care. Okay, my friends, so let's just discuss what's going on this evening. Put it in there. You know, my friends, I think that we've come upon something quite unique. You know, we have instinctive aiming, we have gapping, we have point of aiming. That's all I've ever heard about. But now I'm going to give you the floating eye anchor. It's not a permanent anchor, always on the corner of the mouth or on the nose or on the chin or behind the ear. It's floating. And what's really going on is we have left to right and we have up and down. Left to right, if you can get all relaxed and let everything hang, you can feel that pressure, and you've got a center shot bow, that arrow will go pretty straight. But the up and down, the elevation, is the trickiest part of archery, of instinctive archery or traditional archery. So what I started to do was experiment. I tell you all the time, experiment. And what I have found is if I hold that arrow on and I simply raise the back up until I can sort of see along the arc and let go, that I'm getting the best elevation that I've ever got. I've always got big heavy eyebrows and hair going in my eyes. But anyhow, this is really a big deal, and we're going to develop it a little bit farther, but I want to share this with you, that we are going to actually start to use an altering spot for elevation. We're not going to touch the face. We're going to let it float, and it's nailing the target all the time tonight. Okay, so that's what we're working on. We're going to solve the elevation problem by floating our eye anchor. Anyhow, I hope you guys have a good evening. Think about what I'm saying. We'll keep on working on this, and I think we're going to get some really great results. Okay, boys. This time, I'm not coming back. Talk to you later.